You're listening to episode 114, update episode with Derrick Duplessy. Welcome to the Grass Gets Greener podcast, the show for survivors by survivors. I'm your host, Melissa Wilson, a bullying survivor and anti-bullying advocate. And each week you'll hear from a survivor who has overcome a traumatic experience to go on to not only survive, but thrive, so that you can too, starting now. Hey there, welcome to this episode, and thanks so much for being here. Today we're going to be joined by past guest Derrick Duplessy. As you may or may not know, periodically I'll be bringing past guests back on the show to update us on what they've been up to since they were last on. Now, Derrick is actually my guest from way back on episode 3 of the podcast from back in 2014. He's the second guest I've ever had on the show, so I'm excited to have him back today. If you want to check out his first episode, you can find that over at thegrassgetsgreener.com/Derrick Duplessy, but it's not entirely necessary to be able to enjoy this episode, but of course the conversation might make more sense if you do. And in case you don't go back to check out the first one, let me give you a quick synopsis of that episode now to get you caught up. So Derrick joined me last time to share his story of how he went from being bullied to being the bully to where he is today, helping others find their purpose. Derrick was bullied every day for a year on a school bus during elementary school. The bullying was both verbal and physical, to the point where the bullies would cause him to bleed and sustain injuries. One of the effects the bullying had on Derrick was that he became a bully himself in order to let out the anger he had from getting bullied. He also had a hard time trusting others, even into adulthood. Part of what helped Derrick overcome the bullying was realizing that the sooner he told someone about what was happening, the sooner the abuse would end. That led him to be in a position where it was easier for him to own what had happened to him and not let it bottle up. He also has the mindset that he doesn't have time or space in his life for people who don't like him or have an issue with him, and he doesn't let them upset him. So that gets you mostly caught up. Now, today we're going to be talking about Derrick's new stress relief community, Scream Club. We'll get an update on Derrick's Purpose Rockstar podcast. We'll get a sneak peek into a new project Derrick's working on for 2018. He'll share how his bullying experiences growing up have given him perspective now, and how rating our day can help us manage our emotions. So I hope you're excited to get caught up with Derrick. Before I bring him on though, I want to let you know about something I've been using that you might find of interest. I love to share any resources that have been helpful to me in case they may be helpful to you as well. This one is a journal, and it's called the 5-Minute Journal. And if you like to journal, or you like the idea of journaling, but you find it difficult to do regularly, like I do, then you might find this particular journal helpful. I came across it back in 2015, actually, and what I like about it is that it prompts you, and it helps you to focus on what's good in your life, and to become more mindful. And it gets you to focus on your day and what you can do to make it great, or what you could have done to make it better. It's designed for you to spend about 5 minutes with it each morning and evening. I like it because it's quick and easy and helps me to have a positive mindset. It's essentially a gratitude journal, so if you're into that or you want to give that a try, then this is a journal that I recommend for that. I've actually written a review of it over on the website. You can find that at thegrassgetsgreener.com/journal review. So that will give you more information on it if it's something that interests you. Again, like I said, it's something that I like and I find useful, so I wanted to share it with you in case you might be interested. And again, you can find more info on it at thegrassgetsgreener.com/journal review. Okay, now without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get into this episode, and I'll go bring Derrick on. Derrick, welcome back to the podcast, and thank you for joining me here today to continue sharing your journey with us.
Melissa, I'm really happy to be back on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you back on here. And you were actually my second guest back in 2014. So I'm really looking forward to getting to catch up and hear about what's been new for you since then. And you and I have kept in touch a little bit since that time, but I don't know about everything that you've had going on, so I'm looking forward to hearing about all of that. And before I brought you on, I gave everyone a quick synopsis of what we talked about last time so that they're familiar with your background. So start us out by letting us know what it is you do today.
Wow. There's a lot of things that I'm up to. I think the biggest thing that I'm tackling these days is the stress of startup life. So we're launching a community called Scream Club, and it's a stress relief community for startups. I don't know about you, but when it comes to just being by your lonesome or even having a small team, it's super stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And
You need
we
an
want to be
outlet, right?
yes, we want to be that community for folks. And one of the cool things that we do is we scream on rooftops to relieve stress, just to open up.
Nice.
And we have these things called secret suppers where we get together. Nobody knows who's going to be there, so there's no pretensions, and we just chat about what's really going on in our life and in our businesses. So we're launching that community, and we're going around the United States and hopefully the world shortly.
Oh, cool. So, 'cause I know you're based in Boston, but this is not going to be contained to just there.
Correct. Yes.
Nice. So, how long have you been working on this?
Oh man, it's probably been 2 years of a labor of love, and so essentially about 2 years from when we're talking now, when we're recording this, I was in a tough spot. I was feeling anxious. I was getting married, and I felt the pressure to provide, um, and just I was not getting enough traction in my business, and so at that time, all I could think about was jumping in front of the train. And I knew it was at that point that something had to change. And so the short version of a long story is I decided instead of jumping in front of a train to scream on a rooftop with a whole bunch of other startup folks. And that sort of was the beginning of this journey.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad you didn't jump in front of a train. Yeah, but I mean, I think that highlights how important it is to have some sort of outlet when you are feeling that way, because otherwise you might end up doing something terrible. So I really like the idea of this community, and I hope that it takes off for you. And it sounds like it's something that could benefit so many people. And I'd love to see it just kind of, take off and be in different cities throughout the country and even across the world, like you were saying. That would be awesome.
That's the dream.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, tell us anything else you have going on today. I know you still have your foundation, right? The Duplessy Foundation.
Yes, yeah. So Scream Club is going to be sort of one of our signature programs. Beyond working on Scream Club, I've been helping a lot of different creative folks, especially makers, do well on Kickstarter. So one of the groups that I worked with, they just actually launched their Kickstarter yesterday. It's called Waylens, Waylens, and that's their second Kickstarter. So they're like a GoPro for your car that tells you all kinds of interesting stats on the torque of your turns and your driving experience, and it creates a highlight reel of your drive for you at the end of whenever you finish driving.
Cool.
So now they're coming out with a new version, and that's what their second Kickstarter is for. And there was another brand called I don't can I swear on this?
Sure, go ahead.
It's called Shit That I Knit. It's really awesome knitted hats, and she was able to raise 26,000. Wayland's in their first campaign was able to raise a little over 600,000 with their campaign. So that's sort of my side hustle, helping folks do well on Kickstarter.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for just kind of, sharing a couple of examples, because I was actually going to ask you if you had any cool stories of, people who have been helped by your organization. I know that your organization is essentially like you're trying to help artists and creatives turn their art into business, right?
Yeah, that's a huge thing for us. You know, the big, broad vision is for more people to be doing meaningful work. So just like with this podcast, you know, I want people to, like you, to be able to say, I'm going to take Grass Gets Greener, I'm going to turn it into a thing that can help me actually make a living. So um, anytime we can do that, whether it's with Kickstarters or things like Scream Club, we want to be able to help people have really meaningful lives and feel like the work that they're doing is worthwhile, and also that, you know, they can actually eat and live somewhere.
It's important. Yeah, that's awesome. I know, yeah, last time you were talking about how, you were on a mission of helping others find their purpose, and it sounds like that's what you're still doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, awesome. How about your podcast? Is that still going on, or?
Purpose Rockstar still going. We're going to launch season 3 very soon. And this a lot of the focus there is going to be on people that I went around the country interviewing. So after that first rooftop scream in August of 2015, I went around the country, went 8,000 miles by bus, which is holy cannoli. That's a lot of Greyhound, and you meet a lot of interesting people around the road. And
I'm sure
I was
you
able
could tell many stories just from that
yeah,
experience.
that's at least a book in there somewhere. Um, so we went to 11 cities and we traveled about 8,000 miles. So I interviewed a lot of folks during that journey. So a lot of the new episodes of Purpose Rockstar, which is coming out next week, are going to be based on that and sort of how Scream Club came to be.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I was checking out the podcast the other day, and I saw that you did like a little update episode saying that you were going to be bringing it back. So
Yep.
yeah, I was excited to hear about that. And how long it's been, like about a year or so that you haven't been doing it, or?
Well, it's been close to a year. It's interesting situation in that we had 20 something or maybe 30 episodes. And then things changed for me in that my wife got sick and then weirdness happened. So we sort of went on hiatus, and it's a less weird time, you know, that nobody's sick or dying. A couple people died, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you have those seasons in life when
Mm-hmm.
you just got to focus on home base, and so that's what we're doing, and we're back, and we're gonna be stronger than ever.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I was a guest on your show probably a few years back too. I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when that was or what episode it was, but I'll have that linked up in the show notes if anyone wants to check it out.
yeah. I'm pretty sure you're in the first 100 people.
I think so.
Yeah, we have I think 218 interviews on the feed. So you're certainly in the first 100.
Now, you were doing that 5 days a week, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, is it going to continue with that schedule?
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to get back in the groove, because with that kind of show, you basically have to, you know, have a day or two where you're doing multiple interviews. So the good thing is we have maybe 50 shows in the can,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
ready to go. And so I want to get to a point where we can get that number higher and higher and higher. And so we can sort of do a lot more on the promotion side, and be in a point where we can really master figuring out how to find audiences for each particular show. It's it's like a art. I remember there was one show where I reached out to a nonprofit organization that had something to do with what the guest does, and said, "Hey, you guys should check this out. Would you mind putting this in your monthly newsletter, and that was what got that show a lot of attention. So every show is a little bit different in terms of how you're able to get people to actually listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's great. Glad to hear that it's coming back. And yeah, so you said it's going to be season 3. Are you going to be doing like seasons going forward where you'll take little breaks in between?
Yeah, 100 episodes is a lot, and this year we're really focusing in on that startup life and what that looks like for a variety of different people around the world. So I think it's going to be really interesting to do a deep dive, do 100 episodes, and see what the next 100 episodes are going to look like.
Yeah, that sounds good. So it sounds like you've got some exciting things coming up with your Scream Club and the podcast. Any other things that you have in the works that you want to share with us?
Wow. See, just for your audience, I'll tell you about something. It doesn't exist yet, so I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I got to make sure I get the URL. I think I have it. Yeah, I do. So there's a site, after we get Scream Club to a good place, my project for 2018 is going to be Fart for Art.
Fart for
And
Art.
yeah,
Tell us about that.
so the whole idea with Fart for Art is that, there's so many people in art that are frustrated because, you have your friend who's like, oh, I couldn't make it to your show, or, because I didn't have time, or, I just didn't have the money this week. I'm so sorry I couldn't, take part in your art thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're creative, you're just like, man, it's rough. And so, I decided as a joke to say, hey, if you can't give your time and you can't give your money, why not give your farts? So when you go to Fart for Art, you basically go to the site and there'll be a big green ball of gas that you can click. And basically, the more that you share that you're farting for art, the higher level fart that you're able to give. So if you share in 3 places, for example, it might be a butt bomb. But if you don't share at all, maybe it's a toot. So we're gonna try to crowdsource different names for the 3 levels, and who knows, we might have a 4th level if it gets popular enough. And we want to try to get some really popular artists out there. And the mission for Fart for Art is to shine a light on great art that's being put out there. And so maybe people can find time and money to appreciate great art. And they can do that by farting online.
There you go. Well, I hope that that comes to be for you.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline for sure.
Nice. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. So, Derek, how are you doing today? Are there, things you still struggle with as a result of, the bullying that you experienced when you were growing up?
You know, I think bullying really gives me perspective. Because I remember, talking to you about not only being bullied, but also becoming a bully after that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it really helps me understand both sides and really understand um, what we're capable of as humans, because I think in the beginning, when I was getting bullied, it was so easy to see these people as just evil. Um, but I think, whether you're a nature or nurture person, whether you believe like, bullies are created they're they're nurtured, excuse me, or they're just naturally people that have that disposition.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's good to have empathy for those people because they could be going through stuff, and this is how they cope. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the best way, but that's how they cope. So some people say our president sometimes has bully like tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching a video that showed his handshake. I don't know if you've ever seen his handshake. So shake someone's hand and he'll pull the person in.
Hmm.
And like when they resist, he'll pull in again, which is like a serious power move.
Yeah. No, I haven't really
And
paid attention to that.
no, it's definitely a thing. If you just look up Donald Trump handshaking, you'll see he likes to pull people in. He's doing this with world leaders. So that just reminds me of that. And on my show, Purpose Rockstar, I actually got to interview um, a a doctor that was part of the incognito case. So the Miami Dolphins football team in the NFL
Yeah, the
had two
bullying
players.
situation down there.
Yeah, Richie Incognito was the bullying. I'm forgetting the other guy's name right now, which is interesting. It's the bully gets
Um,
more famous than I think his first name was Jonathan, but the last name
yeah, I can't remember either.
is escaping me. It sort of says what something about society, that we remember the
Mm,
bully. But yeah, it was really interesting to talk to him and just understand what workplace bullying looks like and know that that's an actual thing. So in a weird way, because that happened, I think a lot of people now understand that, hey, if you're an adult, yes, you too can be bullied, and you can be bullied at work, a place where you would think you kind of be safe. Everybody's focused on work. So I believe I've done 3 shows on bullying, and I'm just, like I said earlier, I have much more empathy for people who have been bullied and who have been bullies themselves.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you run into any bullying situations, like in your work environment?
Oh, wow. I think, because I'm the boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's times when I have to check myself, right? And say, whoa, you're overstepping a line. And sometimes when people don't do things the way you'd want them to be done, or they're not doing them as quickly as you, because when you're the entrepreneur, like nobody's going to be more invested than you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have the right outlets, which is why we're, focusing on launching Scream Club and making Scream Club available, especially for women, minorities, immigrants, and people that don't sort of come out of central casting. People are not engineers out of MIT or Stanford. Um, for people like that, sometimes it can be really intimidating to talk to a CEO with a strong personality. And so when I see myself becoming that person, that's when I take a step back and really try to understand what's going on for me. One of the things that I've been doing, and I invite all your listeners to do, and I'll send you a link to something like an article I'm going to be writing very shortly. I wrote it, so I'll sort of post it. Is to rate your day. I know it's super silly, but I have a scale from 0 to 10, and 5 is an average day. So people's scales sometimes will start at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is below 7. It's like 7, 8, 9, and 10. Um, where our scale actually starts at 0, and 5 is an average day. Um, and what it does is, if I have a 5 day, what that means is, all right, nothing horrible happened, nothing great happened either. And my mood is in such a place where I'm not up or down. And my goal is not necessarily to place myself high. My goal is just to pay attention to how I'm feeling that particular day. And if I have a set of days where I'm below average or I'm above average, I'm really paying attention to what I'm doing or not doing, so that I can manage my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So you're like trying to
um,
look for patterns and learn from your experiences.
yeah, exactly. So it might be something like, for example, it's weird to some people, but I like to do the Pomodoro technique. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I've tried it myself. I haven't stuck to it, but I did use it for a little while.
Yeah, like I don't know if I have like ADD or something like that, but every 20 minutes or so, and sometimes every 15 minutes, I'll just get up, walk around. I'll do laps in my office here. If it doesn't feel like enough, I'll actually go around the block. If that doesn't feel like enough, I'll take a longer loop around my office building. And that just makes me feel calmer and just helps me reflect and just gets my brain going when I get stuck. So,
hmm
um,
Yeah, it's important to take those breaks if you need to, because I don't know about you, but I can't be productive when I'm, feeling keyed up or anxious or stressed or just can't focus. I need to do something to kind of reset myself.
exactly. So, yeah, I'm just trying to pay attention to that kind of stuff and
Cool.
do it.
Nice. Yeah, and just being more aware, kind of like in what you were talking about, in regard to how you might be treating other people, and just I think it's great that you're able to recognize if maybe you're being a little too harsh with someone and you need to kind of, dial it back. So, Derrick, I want to ask you the final question that I have for you today. And this is the same, final question that I asked you 3 years ago.
Mm.
And maybe you have a different answer for us now. And if not, that's okay too. But either way, I want to ask it again. And that is, given what you know now, if you could go back to when you were going through your tough times and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Wow. It's funny because I didn't listen to the other episode to see what I said for this answer. So it should be interesting to hear after the fact what I said.
How
But I
about
think,
I'll tell you after you answer if it's the same answer or not.
okay, I think what I would tell myself is that I have agency. I have the ability to fend for myself, and I don't have to do it in a violent way because I was a scrawny little kid. And so I think the biggest thing there is like be able to just speak up. And then from there, um, things will happen. So it's not necessarily something where it's going to magically change the situation, but I just took way longer than I needed to. And that's what I would tell myself.
hmm Yeah, pretty similar. You said last time that you would have told somebody sooner.
Well, there you go.
There you go. And it's good advice. Definitely good advice. So, Derrick, how can we best support you in what you have going on right now? Is there anything that we can do to help?
Yes, you can head to screamclub.us. It's all one word. So screamclub.us. I like to say us. It's not just a US based thing, but that was the URL that we can get. So it's screamclub.us. Check that out. And if you want to be part of the community, that's where you should go.
Cool. I will have that on the show notes page.
Okay.
Now, if someone's in the Boston area and they want to get involved in Scream Club, is that something they would be able to do? Like they could go on the website and get information about that?
So if you go to screamclub.us and you'll opt in, and from there we can direct you to whether you're in Boston, New York, or San Francisco. That's where we're going to start.
Oh, you have it in 3 locations right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So when you're in either one of those places, you'll know about our events. And even if you're not in any of those places, we're going to have a robust online community. And Boston, New York, and San Francisco are going to be the places where we'll be in person to start. But online, you can be from Toledo and be part of the Scream Club.
All right. Sounds good. And before I let you go, what's the best way for people to, connect with you or learn even more about what you have going on today?
Well, you can tweet at me on the Twitters at DDuplessy. That's DDUPLESSY. So hit me up on the Twitters, follow me, holler at me. I like to post things that I write on my whiteboard. So they've been getting some traction so far, which is really cool. And of course, you go to screamclub.us. And if you opt in, if you send an email, we'll send you an email. If you reply to that email, I will answer you right back personally.
All right. Sounds good. And I will have all that over on your show notes page. So, Derrick, thanks again for coming back on the podcast. I appreciate having you back and getting to catch up, and hopefully the audience enjoyed getting to hear from you again as well. So yeah, just thank you for that, and I look forward to, seeing all these things that you have going on.
Homeless has been my pleasure, and the grass does get greener. I know.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Derrick. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Thanks for listening to the show today. This has been the Grass Gets Greener podcast, episode 114. Go to thegrassgetsgreener.com/Derrick Duplessy and the number 2 to find the links mentioned during this episode or to leave a comment. So I hope you enjoyed hearing from Derrick again, and be sure to check out his Scream Club community if you're interested in relieving some stress on a rooftop. And this is especially created for entrepreneurs, so if there are any entrepreneurs in the audience, then definitely go check that out and help support Derrick in his endeavors. Again, that's at screamclub.us. And come back in 2 weeks for the next episode, which will be with a new guest. Also, head over to the website to grab your free copy of the Top 10 Strategies Guide for Survivors. In it, you'll find the top 10 most common strategies my podcast guests have used for overcoming the effects of past trauma. It's a great place to get started if you're looking for some strategies that can help you in your healing, as they have helped my guests. And you can find that at thegrassgetsgreener.com/guide, or also on the show notes page. So be sure to grab that if you haven't yet. And lastly, don't forget to head over to iTunes or Stitcher to leave the show a rating and review so that we can reach as many survivors as possible. And as always, have hope.